The online game platform Roblox continues to be a juggernaut for the under-18 age group. Based on the company's own internal statistics, Roblox now sees over 1 billion hours of engagement per month, according to comments picked up by PocketGamer. The company says this means it's well on its way to rivaling platforms like YouTube and Netflix in terms of hours of content consumed for both the under-13 age group and the 13 to 17 age group. Roblox is a sandbox game platform that, while free-to-play, allows developers to create content on levels for its sizable user base in exchange for a slice of whatever premium currency those creations bring in. Media estimates released by the company last summer predicted that it would pay out as much as $70 million to those developers in 2018, nearly double 2017's estimated payout. In 2017, 2 of the platform's top creators walked away with $2 million in earnings each. For its recent growth, Roblox Corporation says that increasing globalization, the introduction of new features and customization, and developer creativity have helped the platform keep its upward momentum in recent years. The 3DS is entering the 8th year of its lifespan, and seems to be leaving the shadow of Nintendo's partially portable Switch more often than not. Despite this, Nintendo still insists there is demand for its family of 3D handhelds, even though unit sales have fallen in the system's twilight years. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa responded to a question on the company's plans for both systems in a recent investor Q&A, saying that, in short, the 3DS still has appeal with younger, and often first-time, players. That is why our basic policy is to proceed with both Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS in our dedicated video game platform business, says Furukawa. During its most recent financial report, Nintendo dropped its full-year 3DS hardware forecast from 4 million units to 6 million units with 3 months to go in the 2018-19 fiscal year. Year-over-year, Nintendo 3DS hardware sales fell 65% to 3 million units. Software sales saw a similar decrease, falling 65% year-over-year to 11.08 million. Furukawa acknowledges that the 3DS market has contracted faster than we anticipated, but says that the 3DS have still appealed to its small size and low price point, which currently falls between $80 and $200, depending on the model being purchased. He says this makes the 3DS a common choice for parents looking to purchase a video game system for their young children, a market Nintendo has mentioned many times before. When questions about the viability of the 3DS in the age of the Switch have crept up, that same question also briefly asks about a new Switch model that is rumored to release this year at a lower price point, though Furukawa does not directly comment on that. Instead, he says the company's future plans for the Switch revolve around increasing demand for the system until the point that players decide that one system per household is not enough. This comes after Nintendo slightly lowered its full-year Switch sales expectations from 20 million units to 17 million. While the system has been selling well, Nintendo leadership believes that a failure to properly convey the appeal of the Switch led to that lowered forecast. Chinese regulators are slowly working their way through the backlog of game approval applications that piled up during the approval freeze that spanned most of 2018. For the first time in the month, Since the process started up again, the Chinese game giants Tencent and NetEase have had a handful of titles approved for release and monetization. Those approvals are good news for Tencent and those banking on the company to see their own titles eventually released in China. But, as noted by Nikkei, neither of Tencent's approved games are notably heavy hitters. More specifically, neither game is PUBG Mobile, a mobile title that launched midway through 2018 and has yet to be approved for monetization in China, thanks to last year's freeze. Tencent's two approvals include a game about making Chinese fans and a game about traditional wood carving, while NetEase's first approval is a Chinese history-inspired RPG called Spring and Autumn. At this point, a little over 350 games have been seeing approval from Chinese regulators since the process reopened earlier this month. After a 9-month-long halt, the State Administration of Press and Publications, the government branch now tasked with overseeing that process, says it plans to work through games in the order the original applications were filed during last year's freeze. The South China Morning Press also reports that analysts expect to see the process speed up considerably after the Lunar New Year, which takes place on February 5th, and the National People's Congress in March, as originally posted in the Rise via dev blog. Let's talk a bit about what this post is about. This is not a post detailing the progress of each individual mechanic of the game from iteration to iteration, about how time and experience influenced our design decisions. This is not a technical post. It's more about production rather than development. These posts will come later. So if you are interested in that, just be patient, and I promise I will deliver. What the hell is Rise? You may ask. Well, Rise is a puzzle game in which you have a simple goal. Use symmetries to generate beams that activate some sort of mechanism, while finding ways around blockers. That's it. Rise is that simple. It could be a mobile game and with debuted within it in a month or two. So why did it take us 5 years to even start making it? Akin to a child, the first iteration of Rise was all over the place, absorbing everything from its environment and constantly falling on its face while performing even the simplest of tasks. Yet it was full of potential waiting to be harvested. Rise was conceived during the Prometheus Game Jam, organized by the National Technical University of Athens, in July 2017. Even though NetEase Softworks existed as a team of different individuals for about 4 years, already we had just solidified our lineup and started the company. Furthermore, it was the first time all 4 of us would get a chance to work together on a game that was not commissioned by a client, and were justifiably excited. The jam was taking place in the Lavrion Technological and Cultural Park, an hour-long drive from the center of Athens. The place is a huge complex of stone buildings that reminded me of those old abandoned places you always seem to stumble upon in horror games. During the weekend, only the gamers had access to the place, and we were free to explore and get inspired by it. Words cannot describe how much I loved the place. It was hands down the best venue I have ever jammed in, and I have jammed in a castle in the middle of a lake in Sweden. Of course, all good things must come to an end. The theme was disappointing to say the least. I am not sure how that came to pass, but the organizers decided that the theme for the Prometheus Game Jam should be, well, Prometheus Oh well, we work with what we have. In Greek mythology, Prometheus was the titan that stole the fire from the Olympian gods. and gave it to humanity, thus kick-starting our civilization. It is a nice myth that made something very clear to us. We had to play with fire. A few hours of talking and doodling, and we had decided on our course of action. Rise was going to be a third-person, puzzle exploration game set in a dark post-apocalyptic world, with prominent themes of fire and sacrifice.